Ladies, gentlemen and scallywags of the YouTube pipe smoking community, it's Burn-A-Briar, and today I would like to talk to you about a topic that has pursued me since I first picked up the pipe 11.5 years ago. And that is the concept of a go-to tobacco, a go-to blend. Now, many of us here in the YouTube pipe smoking community, the YTPC, have a go-to blend. But I think it's fair to say that the vast majority of us are connoisseurs of sorts. Our interest in pipes and the tobaccos we put in them cause us to try many blends, and I dare say we're constantly evolving our rotation. Well, that's never stopped me, and perhaps some of you know what I mean when I say this. It's never stopped me pursuing that sort of blend that I would continuously restock. But it's taken me about 10 years to work out what I really like. And before I get too deep into this subject, I'll start with a bit of housekeeping. I'm smoking, excuse me, I'm smoking my Rattray Old Gowrie pipe, beautiful semi-bent bulldog with a sandblast finish. And the tobacco I am smoking in it will very much be key to the discussion of this video, so I will get onto that in a bit. I'm also going to be drinking some tea, as I'm sure many of you know. I find that to be a very good complement when smoking a pipe. And the tea we're smoking today is just Twinings Earl Grey, with milk and no sugar, which is how I like it. Did I just say tea will be smoking? If I did, it's the tea I'll be drinking. Anyway, finding that elusive go-to blend is something I almost gave up on until quite recently. I think I've explained before that I'm somebody who I go through pipey phases. I go pipey. I am not somebody who smokes a pipe every day, but I might go through a phase where I'm smoking nearly daily, sometimes more than a bowl a day. I might then not touch a pipe for a month or so. And that's just always the way it's been for me. I smoke on my own terms when I fancy it. Which is probably why it's taken me so long to discover what I like in a blend. So I've started a new job recently, which is in the town I was born, and in the town that my parents still live in. My wife and I live 8 miles or so from that town, so my commute is nice and easy. And when my first paycheck arrived at the end of my first month at this job, I walked past newsagents very close to where I work, which happened to be the first place I ever bought a tin of pipe tobacco. And they hadn't sold pipe tobacco in years, but there was a little sign in the window, just a little printout, saying pipe tobacco sold here. So I was quite pleased to see that they were doing that again. Now, they don't sell a big range, they're more a newsagent than tobacconist. But they did sell a few things that sounded interesting, and I picked up a couple of tins. One of which was a tin of what I'm smoking today. Old Dublin by Peterson. Now, I didn't really go into this tin with especially high or low expectations. Since Peterson's tobaccos began to be blended by the Scandinavian Tobacco Group, no longer Koolhaas and Cobb, I've noticed a bit of a decline. But that was in their aromatic tobaccos, and I haven't really been a true aromatic smoker since I was quite young. Well, quite young. For many years, since I was a young pipe smoker. And I have been incredibly impressed by this blend. It does everything I want it to do. It comes in a 1 3/4 ounce tin, as so many pipe tobaccos do. And it's a perfect ribbon cut. The tin description reads, a pipe tobacco based on Cyprus latakia, having, sorry, that bit's blocked a little bit by a little tag, on the Cyprus latakia heritage, perhaps, selected golden Virginias with black Cavendish and Greek Oriental Basma grades added. It's a traditional blend of tobacco that is described on tobacco reviews as an English blend, though I would say this is an Oriental forward Scottish blend. The addition of the unflavoured black Cavendish in this blend pushes it towards Scottish. If it weren't Scottish, I'd describe it perhaps more as leaning towards Balkan, because the Latakia Oriental proportions lean towards the Oriental leaf. And that, generally speaking, is how I like my tobacco. Other blends I've smoked like this include Red Rapparee by Rapparees. This tobacco just keeps on giving. So long as you treat it with respect, as you must all pipe tobaccos, smoke it gently, give yourself time. But whether you're out walking or indoors sitting, this tobacco is incredibly rewarding. It starts off with that interplay between the sort of sweet and sour notes provided by the Orientals and the Virginias. But as you work your way down the bowl, the sweetness becomes more pronounced, more rounded, almost like a sort of dessert towards the end. And I suppose you've got to give a bit of credit there to the Cavendish. All in all, the perfect tobacco, the go-to tobacco. However, upon closer inspection of the tin, I discovered to my dismay that this blend was tinned in 2021, 3 years ago. Now normally that would be very encouraging, who doesn't like a bit of age on their tobacco, but what it meant for me was that if I were to pick up a fresh tin of this, I would probably not experience the same smoking characteristics. And therefore what I thought might become my next, or perhaps even my first, go-to tobacco is probably not so. I've titled this video Finding Your Go-To Tobacco, an Odyssey. Those of you familiar with the classical poem, the Odyssey, the tale of Odysseus after his his role in the Iliad, the war between the Greeks and the Trojans at Troy. Odysseus has a decade-long journey home. And that is what I think I have before me now. It's taken me a decade to work out what I like in a tobacco as a go-to. I mean, I'm not fussy. I'm a tobacco connoisseur like the rest of you. I enjoy many types of tobaccos, but there are particular blends that just make me think I could smoke that again and again and again all day. And they tend to be these oriental, not oriental heavy or even oriental forwards, but a Scottish mixture, i.e. your Virginias, your Latakia, your Oriental, with the Cavendish added, that lean towards Oriental flavours, if you like, a sort of Scottish Balkan, a Scot bulk. We come up with all these silly names like Vapor and Weber. Well, how about Scot bulk? It sounds disgusting, but there you go. Anyway, so I propose I begin this Odyssey, if you like, starting with Old Dublin here. I will buy a fresh tin of Old Dublin at some point, and I will get round to working my way through the tin and seeing what I think about it. But I've come up with a bit of a list to start my go-to Odyssey, as I smoke blends, some of which I've tried before, some of which will be new to me, that either meet this criteria or are close in one way or another, and I decided to select them. But this is the part of the video where I go to the great wealth of knowledge in the YTPC and ask for recommendations as well. You've heard my description. The type of blends I like aren't powerhouses. There's an old-fashioned subtlety to them. Those tobaccos, many of these tobaccos are quite old blends and are described as being a little on the old-fashioned side. I think it's perhaps a little in vogue at the moment to smoke at bombs or so-called English mixtures with great strength of flavour. But it's the subtle spiciness and the nuance between sweet and sour that I crave, and a lot of these more traditional blends seem to have that. For it to be a go-to blend, it's got to be something that's going to be readily available to me here in the UK. Something I'll be able to replace it in from a local tobacconist or using one of the online vendors. The list I've come up with so far is this. Obviously Old Dublin by Peterson, which we've started on. The next one I'll be trying is the original Oriental by Robert McConnell. I should also note that each time I buy one of these, I'll buy 2 tins, one to age and one to try fresh. It would be nice, but I can't promise that this will become a video series. My track record on YouTube is simply too poor for me to make any guarantees, but it would be nice if I got round to sort of making this, go-to Odyssey a bit of a thing. But we'll see what happens. So yes, Old Dublin and Robert McConnell's Oriental. Peterson's, or what used to be Dunhill's, My Mixture 965. Many people compare Old Dublin to My Mixture. I'll revisit Rattray's Red Rapparee, Robert Lewis's Tree Mixture, and also Scilla Mixture by Robert Lewis. Germain's Special Latakia Flake, although that one I have some actually, and it is a tobacco I like, but it doesn't quite fit the description I gave you in terms of component tobaccos or style of smoke. But it definitely could be in the running to be a go-to smoke for me. The only problem is that whilst it does appear to be semi-regularly available in the UK, it isn't always. And when it does go out of stock everywhere, it appears sometimes to go out of stock for nearly a year. So perhaps I'm being a little ambitious into thinking that it could ever be a go-to tobacco. Some other suggestions I've got is Balkan Flake by Samuel Gowith. It doesn't contain the Cavendish. It's one I want to try. Skiff mixture, again, without Cavendish, but one I've really enjoyed in the past for the reasons I've given, that sort of subtlety and interplay between sweet and sour. And also Commonwealth mixture by Samuel Gowith, one I've not tried, but one that is highly reviewed. So if any of you have any other suggestions of a tobacco that could become part of my Odyssey, do let me know. How I wish that old Dublin smoked like this fresh out of the tin. Maybe it does. This is the only tin I've ever smoked. I'm almost out. But it has 3 years on it, and with blends like this, it's unlikely, I think, that those 3 years wouldn't have had an impact in mellowing and sweetening the tobacco. Two things that I believe make it, well, so well suited to my taste. Well, I haven't been around much for a long time. Do know that I'm always keeping an eye out on videos that some of you post. And as far as I'm aware, I've always responded to any comments that pop up on my videos, so my long absence wasn't a full absence, just a necessary break from making videos. Well, I think that's all I've got to say. So thank you for watching, and as I said, please do make some suggestions if you have any ideas. Just remember, it has to be something readily available in the UK. And obviously not on my list. So yes, thank you. Until next time. Cheers. Bye.